Hi guys, how are you? I hope doing well. Today I'm gonna talk about a subject that is close to my heart. I'm gonna talk about Iraq today. Iraq. I am from Iraq. My roots are from Iraq. I grew up around Iraq people, so I really wanted to show you a side of Iraq that these people are not showing you. Because for me, it always makes me so sad when I look into YouTube and I just see just so much videos where just showing a side of Iraq that's just not like that. Alright, so I'm gonna first start the history of Iraq. Iraq is a land between the Tigris and the Euphrates River. These two rivers have so many histories. Iraq started about 6,000 years ago with Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is a name the Greeks gave Iraq. Mesopotamia invented things like writing, recording, math, law, governments, money, like so much things we use today. The list just goes on, like literally driving, wheels, sail ships, like so many things. Iraq or Mesopotamia at that time was the first civilization in the world. It was even before the pyramids, before like anything you could think about. Iraq started before them, and I think this is such an overlooked subject today. Like maybe when you study at school about Mesopotamia, you're not likely to see that Mesopotamia actually happened in Iraq. Like this thing also make me so sad, because like when we study at school about Mesopotamia, nobody really tells us this area is in Iraq. Like most people tell us, yeah, Mesopotamia, but where is Mesopotamia? Nobody tells us that. Like I think it's such a thing that we should learn that Mesopotamia was in Iraq. We didn't just stop with Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia was ruling the world once, but like after Mesopotamia, we have the Islamic Golden Age or the Abbasid Empire, which was ruled from Baghdad. This is the second time Iraq was ruling the world with the Abbasid Empire. Like they had the big libraries, the best studies were in Iraq, the best schools were in Iraq. Like a lot, like Iraq was just such a powerful country at the time. And then the Mongols got jealous, so they went into Iraq. They killed a lot of people. They made sure to kill like the kings of Iraq and stuff, and they got out the books like for the history. They threw it into the river. The river was filled of blood. There were a lot of people killed at that time, and that's how basically the Islamic Golden Age got into an end. Alright, so this is basically a small part about the history of Iraq. Now I'm gonna get into more than Iraq and explain the war behind Iraq. Alright, so in the 1990s, the USA wanted to invade Iraq because like they told the people invade Iraq because of they invaded Kuwait and they're forming a threat and this and that. But like I'm here to tell you this just untrue, because like North Korea also formed such a trend. So many countries form such a trend, but like threat. But this country doesn't have a big fact that the US is such a fan about oil. Iraq has so many oil and so much money that the US just couldn't hold themselves not to invade Iraq. So what did they do? Start planning the invade of Iraq, and I think a big factor is actually forming a bad view on Iraq. They want to make the people think that Iraq is just a terrorist country that doesn't have anything. People don't have rights in Iraq. People don't have anything in Iraq. I think they want to form such a few of Iraq so that they could invade Iraq, get people to invade Iraq, that they could do this freely and steal their oil and kill their people without people questioning, because they want people in the USA and the world to think that Iraq is just a terrorist state and just a bad country at all. I'm not gonna lie, the USA didn't necessarily feel with this part, because like when you ask a lot of people of Iraq, they're just gonna think about war, destroyed cities, terrorists. They're not gonna think about anything good of Iraq. But Iraq is actually so beautiful right now. Like the Iraqi people are just the kindest people, and like the USA started putting propaganda of Iraq, while Iraq is actually a bad state. Like for example, 9/11. When 9/11 happened, a lot of USA citizens were devastated and just so mad, and like it became pretty soon when the USA found out Al Qaeda, a group in Afghanistan, did this. But what did they do? They got onto an idea that they could frame Iraq for it, sort of, and say Saddam Hussein had connection with Al Qaeda, and that's how they kind of framed Iraq into making the people think Iraq is actually the head of all the terrorist things that's going on in the world. Like when 9/11 happens, they frame the people into thinking Iraq actually did this, Saddam Hussein was after this, Saddam Hussein did this. But Saddam Hussein had actually nothing to do with Al Qaeda. Like Saddam Hussein was a bad man to its people, we could say. But like USA couldn't handle it with it. Iraq was at the time a very strong country. Like it was the third biggest military in the whole world. Uh, like a lot of smart people lived in Iraq. A lot of people were doing something for themselves, and America just wanted to take their oil, and like Saddam Hussein wasn't like in the beginning of Saddam Hussein, he was kind of a puppet of America. But then when he started getting power and stuff, he started thinking, why should I be your puppet? Like at the time, Saddam Hussein was like, hell no, I'm not gonna be your puppet. I'm just gonna run my country however I want, and I will not listen to anyone else. And America couldn't handle that because they wanted the oil, but Saddam Hussein wasn't so kind. So America really got tricked by this, and they started planning the invasion of Iraq. So 9/11 happened. They framed Iraq. A big example of this was actually a famous artist in Iraq. Her name was Layla Al-Attar. Layla Al-Attar was an artist that really made art in a way that she wanted to express herself with art. She made, for example, when Iraq was at war, she made art about that. She made art about the rights of women. She made art about a lot of things. But one day, she decided to make a artwork about Bush. She wrote it on his artwork, Bush is criminal, and she put this artwork in a hotel in Baghdad. And this actually went viral. So when this went viral, a lot of USA citizens looked up who Layla Al-Attar is, and they actually found out that people actually had rights in Iraq to do whatever they want. People could express themselves in Iraq because they had such a thought that Iraq was terrorist, and the USA found this out pretty soon. So what did they do? They bombed her house and they bombed the hotel. This artwork was put in, and just like that, her name was erased. The USA said it was accidentally pointed at a hotel her artwork was in at her house. How do we do this accidentally? And with that, she and her maid and her husband were killed at the time, and the hotel just was also gone. So when this all happened, the USA also started putting sanctions on Iraq. Iraq became not strong in food. They didn't have a lot of food in Iraq. So at that time, it was 2003. The time was ripe to invade Iraq. So what did the USA do? They invaded Iraq, and they announced it as like, we are freeing their people. But like, they did not free our people. Like, when the USA invaded Iraq, they started playing with this country. They started killing kids, doing horrific things to people. Like, you can write so much. I don't even want to say it because like, these things are such traumatic stories. But like, they start doing so many bad things to people, and you're calling it free the people. Like, you literally just gave militaries the free will to do whatever they want with our people. And like, things are horrific. Like, a big example of this is the Abu Ghraib prison. So basically, like, when you realize about 70% who were in this prison were innocent and had nothing to do with this. A lot of people who were in the Abu Ghraib prison were actually citizens who were doing something for themselves, and like were doing something good for themselves. And they prisoned so many people who were just innocent and didn't have nothing to do with Saddam Hussein. And like, it's so sad what happened to this prisoner. Like, I don't really want to get into details, but you could say prisoner getting electrocuted like this for for 1 day straight. Bad things were Americans did to their prisoners. Like, just search it up. But like, I recommend, like, so I don't recommend everyone to search it up, but like, if you really want to know what was happening in this prison, you can search it up. And like, the things that happened in this prison were so bad. Alright, so all these things happened, and the plan of the USA was actually to destroy the country of Iraq. They wanted to have Iraq to be just unstable for years. But thank God they failed at this, because Iraq is actually building themselves up right now. Iraq looks so modern right now. Like, they're building themselves up right now. Alright, so Abu Ghraib happened. This prison happened. A terrorist group started forming into Iraq. And like, we are taught to think that the Iraqi people did this. But like, what actually happened, the next president of Iraq at the time, president of Iraq, because the Iraqi people realized the USA are doing nothing good for us. So what did our minister president did? He booked a flight to China, and like, he made a deal with China, building the country up, and like, making deals with China instead of, they want to make deals with the USA, but the USA didn't see something good in Iraq. So we went to China, started making deals with them about building skyscrapers in Iraq and other things. And like, the US president just couldn't have this at all. So what did they do the day after this? They opened the portals for everyone, and like, the ISIS started forming into Iraq. Terrorist organizations started forming in Iraq. They made sure to leave weapons for them, and like, all this stuff. And when Iraq asked for their help, they just turned their face like this, like, we're not gonna help you. The situation really hurt the reputation of Iraq, because like, a lot of things were happening in Iraq, and a lot of people were like, we should realize a lot of people who were in this terrorist organization aren't even Iraqis. Like, a big part of this organization were people from other countries. So yeah. And like this really hurt Iraq because the USA always destroyed the Iraqi military, made sure Iraqi people could do nothing about this. And like it was really hard for Iraq because Iraq went to every country, and all the US allies at these times actually told Iraq that we are not gonna help you. Iraq actually got their help from Iran instead of America, because like it's such a big misconception that America did anything to help Iraq in this time. It was all Iran. Like Iran really helped Iraq at its time. Of course, it came with a cost. Like Iraq had to pay back Iran after a while, but like we should realize that America and the West didn't help Iraq at all when ISIS happened. Alright, so ISIS is done. It's about 2017 or something. The Iraqi people started involving a little bit more, wanting to wanting to build things up. Most started opening into Iraq at this time, but the government wasn't that good. So Iraqi people started protesting, making sure to get government they want. After a decent government actually came on the power in Iraq, Iraq is really building themselves up right now. Skyscrapers are being built into Iraq. The best malls are coming into Iraq. Good restaurants, good schools. Like a lot of things are opening up into Iraq, and like Iraq is just like look what Iraq just achieved in the best 2 years. Like right here, I don't know if somewhere on the screen I'm gonna show you what Iraq has done in the last 2 years with the new president. So yeah, America hurt Iraq, and there are still scars into Iraq. But at the end of the day, Iraq is not a bad country with the most kindest people. Like I recommend everybody who sees this video to actually go into Iraq if you have any doubts about Iraq. 'Cause Iraqi people are such kind people, and Iraqi people is such a safe country right now. Roads are in Iraq and everything. Iraq is doing very good right now. Although America really hurt Iraq, and there are still some scars that you could see today in Iraq. But like Iraq is like thankfully Iraq is getting better day by day, and like I'm really happy because this is actually my country, as you can see right here, and like these things are just unforgivable, and like we should talk about this. But like when I went to look at our people, they gave such uh, a bad view on Iraq, because Iraq is not even a bad country. Like I feel like because I made this video, I will probably get less views than other people who are putting a bad view on Iraq, because people love seeing bad things. But like I feel like I wanted to show the people another side of Iraq. So I really hope I did it in this video. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I want to ask you to please like, subscribe, and comment on this video. This will really boost the algorithm, and like I also need some views, because like I'm trying to build myself up with this YouTube channel, make something for myself. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks so much for looking at this video. Thank you so much. Alright, bye.